Miss Liz. Tea time, yeah. Making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time, time.
Well, welcome everybody. We are here, and yes, it is a Tuesday, so you know what that means. It means that it is a rescheduled tea time, and I have the incredible Jacqueline Wales here. Uh, she was scheduled for August, but you know what? Life happens, and sometimes I like these surprise guests and these rescheduled tea times because then they kind of put me on board during the week as well as not just a Thursday. Right. So I am truly honored to have Jacqueline Wells here. She's an author, a speaker, advisor for success, and she's fearless. That's right. As you've seen in the video, she's fearless and she's got faith. And we're going to talk about a lot of incredible things this afternoon. We're going to be sharing some of her talk. She just did a TED talk and all of that. So she'll be sharing that. And she's doing a lot of incredible things. So grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab your glass of wine, whatever you'd like to grab. You do not have to drink tea when you watch Tea Time or listen to Tea Time. Share this Tea Time, subscribe to the channel, go to Miss Liz's Tea Times on YouTube, on podcast platforms and radio stations, and you can hear all of these incredible Tea Times there. So let me get started with the disclaimer and then a little bit on who Jacqueline is. And then I'm going to get Jacqueline in here and she's going to spill a good TEA with all of you guys this afternoon. So the disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz myself is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, may bring forth dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment in taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussion for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It's significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in today's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I respect those wishes and will see you at a later show date and time. And again, all Tea Times in 2023 are done on a Thursday, 10, 3, and 7 p.m. unless it's a rescheduled or surprise guest, which is done on a Monday and Tuesday. And that's why we're here on Tuesday. So now a little bit on Jacqueline. I see Jacqueline in the back there, and we're going to get her popping in here. Don't go too far, Jacqueline, but you got like a minute or two. So if you want to run off, you're more than welcome to. So Jacqueline, at only 16 years old, Jacqueline Wales fled from her childhood home in a desperate search for happiness. Looking in all the wrong places, she left a trail of abandoned children and a pattern of self-abuse that threatened her life. But that's just the beginning of her story. From late Scotland to London, England, from the California coast to Paris, Amsterdam, New York, and Bali, Jacqueline's life has been a journey of self-discovery, awakening, and joy in the face of fear. Jacqueline believes that being fearless is not the absence of fear, but the courage to take the next step. Today, Jacqueline is an author, keynote speaker, and trusted advisor to successful, high achieving women. And she is unwavering champion for being fearless. And for all of Jacqueline's information, you can check out her website and all of that on Miss Liz's platform pages, including Miss Liz's Facebook page. So let me get Jacqueline in here and let me sip on my tea. Welcome, Jacqueline.
Well, it's nice to be here, Liz, and thank you for that great introduction. I don't think I've ever had a video introduction before. Well done.
Well, I always like to twist it up and do a little twisted tea and surprise my guests with a homemade video. So I like to welcome them. It's like coming to grandma's house, right? Having the cookies and tea ready while the video is ready for you guys. That's my tea and cookies.
I truly appreciate it.
So, Jacqueline, I want to start off with how I start off every interview. Who were you as a little girl, and who are you now as a grown woman?
As a little girl, I was extremely fearful, and growing up in a household that was violent, uncertain, anxious most of the time. It was very poor, so there was a lot of pressure there. But I also knew that that little girl was something special, and it wasn't really recognized for a very long time, including by me. But there was a sense that there was something more. So I left school and I left home very, very early in life because I couldn't wait to be gone. And now, as the adult that I am, if someone had even said to me 20 years ago that I would be here doing what I'm doing today, I would have said, yeah, I'm not so sure about that. But here we are. I certainly have done quite a bit over the years, but that's really the difference between the child and now.
Now, do you feel that the inner child brought you to where you are today, Jacqueline?
I think there's no question. I think that, I always knew that I was a creative individual, except that I had no reason to truly believe that until I was much older. And then I discovered through my writing, through making music, through martial arts and traveling the globe, that there was far more to me than I had actually given myself credit for. And that took a lot of decades to finally get that piece figured out.
So at the age of 16, you were just a little girl, just on the roll. Like, where did you travel to first?
I left school at 15 and I moved to London at the age of 16 with a boyfriend who proceeded to show me who was boss within the first 24 hours. At which point I found myself out on the street looking for a job and a place to stay and wondering what the hell my life was supposed to be doing. And that was a pattern that would last for a very long time.
So did you have that pattern in your life a lot, Jacqueline? Like the controlling guys and...
The controlling guy part, I tried not to, but inevitably did succumb to allowing them to perhaps rule my life in ways that wasn't necessarily the right way. I grew up with a very violent father. One thing I was very clear about is I was not looking for a violent relationship. And that's, but there's lots of ways in which men can manipulate women, as you well know. And a lot of it is about how women allow themselves to be manipulated because their self-worth, their self-esteem is very, very low. And that was my story at the beginning of my life.
I like that you said those two self things because I really like to talk about the self. And it's not about the self-ego. It's about the self-esteem, self-respect, self-awareness, right? Mm-hmm. And during your travels and your journey in life, Jacqueline, I'm sure you found that your self-love was lacking because of the childhood and the upbringing, correct?
Absolutely. I didn't know what love was for a very long time. And the self-love piece is hard for a lot of people. Learning how to love ourselves is really the big number one thing to be able to do. But we frequently are searching for love in all the wrong places. And that was certainly my story. I went searching for love in all the wrong places and inevitably ended up being pregnant with unwanted child and then getting married and having another child and leaving that child behind. And there was this constant search in my life without understanding truly what it was I was searching for. But ultimately, it had to do with love, self-love, love of others, and being genuine in that. But one of the things that happens for children or people who are traumatized is it's very hard to create intimate relationships. It's very hard to make commitments to people because you're always waiting for the other shoe to fall. And when you're constantly on the on guard position, kind of like in a fencing match, you'll end up in a fencing match. And that's usually a fight with yourself. And of course, we all know very well how to be our own worst enemies. So I like to say in my work, I will teach you how to be your own best friend.
Well, I think the word fearless kind of gives you that boot in the butt, right? Like you got to beat this fear. You got to move forward, right? And no matter what we come from or where our childhood has, the upbringings are not what defined us.
Well, that's a big piece right there. Sorry to interrupt, but I think that's a big piece, is that we allow the past to define who we are, instead of understanding that the journey of life is about defining who you want to be, not what you want to do. People will say, this is what I want to do in life. No. Who do you want to be in life? And what does that mean for you? And it's really about self-examination. But the problem is, for many people, they're afraid to self-examine. They're afraid that if they really take a hard look at who they are, they will not like who they see. But in fact, what happens is you find out you're far, far more than you think you are. And when we talk about being fearless, I say that being fearless is not the absence of fear, but it is the courage to take the next step until you are comfortable in the uncomfortable places. And you can meet the challenges knowing that you can overcome them, because fear is our inability to trust that we can handle whatever it is that comes our way. And as you know, I just did a 10X talk called Unleashing the Power of Fear. And I talk about it this way. Fear is the greatest driver for human growth. And why? Because when fear shows up, it's an opportunity to take a hard look at what is that fear all about, because 9 times out of 10, I'll guarantee you, it's the stories we tell ourselves. That's it. There's very little about it that is physically threatening. It's a mental job.
Well, and you're bringing up a lot of good points, Jacqueline, because you're saying self-examination. A lot of people don't want to look in that mirror and say, you know what, maybe I'm the one with the issue. Maybe I'm the one with the problem. Maybe I'm the one putting the self-doubt in myself. Mm-hmm. And I really love the word unleashing, because we hold so much in, right? We just got to release it. Yeah. So when you hear the word unleashing, Jacqueline, what does it bring to you?
Letting go. I mean, a lot of the time when we live in fear, we're control freaks, to be perfectly honest with you. And I was, I call myself a recovering controller because I absolutely needed to have that control in order to feel safe. And that's true for anyone. If you analyze, why do you need to be in control of everything? The people around you, your life, every aspect of it, it needs to be in a certain way. That's all about, how do I keep myself safe? And I think that the unleashing part is the letting go of that. Finding out they won't kill you if somebody else is going to make a decision, or if somebody else is going to take control. Before we started this call today, I had asked my husband this morning to go vacuum because I'm working and he's not. So I said, you need to vacuum. And then he started the vacuuming. I immediately wanted to run outside and go, turn the vacuum off. I'm on a podcast. But then I thought, just let it be. Let it be. It'll stop eventually. You'll be fine.
But that's something I think women struggle with, is control.
Yes.
Especially the household. We're controllers of a household. We ask for help, the guys help, and then we're like, oh no, let me come and do that. Let me give you some help. But it's our kind of way of saying, let's just do it.
Well, there is that. But here's what I've learned. I am going to be with my husband now in December, 44 years. 44 years. There's not too many people make it that long.
No.
We've had a lot of ups and downs and a lot of near misses, but we're still here. But what I have discovered and I realized for myself is that when I controlled how much I was doing, and not only, as they like to say, made a rod for my own back, but I disempowered him because he never had an opportunity to learn and grow. Because it would be a case of get out of the way, I'll do it myself. And that's exactly what you're talking about. But when you think about it from how are we disempowering these people that we say we love?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. You know, we say we love them, but we don't give them enough credit to do the job, to do it. We're behind them. We're mimicking them. Like we're, you know, micromanaging.
Well, it is micromanaging. I mean, I work with a lot of companies now, and I'm just about to launch a new program called Leading with Trust. And it's a very involved program designed to help managers and leaders understand why trust matters and how we can do it differently. But I do bring up a point in there about, you know, none of us want to be micromanaged. I don't want to be told what to do and how to do it. But equally, that's what we do in our relationships. And it's no wonder that many of them don't last, or they end up with major confrontations. And so we have to hold the mirror up and self-examine our own motivation, our own ways in which we try to keep ourselves safe, but we're not keeping ourselves safe. We're just simply setting up pretty severe boundaries around what we're willing to let in and not let in. And certainly for someone who has spent a great deal of her life dealing with her own fears, intimacy was not something that was easy for me. Letting people in is hard when you're a damaged person because you don't trust them. You don't trust that they've got your best interests at heart. And most of all, you don't trust yourself to make the right decisions, the right choices, to be able to lead yourself in the right way. Because we never got the right modeling to help us understand how to do that. Let's face it, most families are dysfunctional. They're not happy families. And everybody's got their own childhood traumas that they have to outgrow. And that's the work that we all need to do.
Jacqueline, I want to ask you this question because I struggle with this. And sometimes I need my guests to help me as well. When I hear the word trust, my body gets tight. Why?
Your body gets tight because there's a vulnerability in trust. And the last thing that you want is to stay open and risk that if you open yourself to that somebody won't hurt you. They won't diminish you. They won't bring you down. And that's why your body tightens up, because it has to do with vulnerability. But one of the things I talk about in my work is vulnerability is a strength. And it's an important strength when it comes to trust. Because if I don't take the risk that I'm going to be okay, then I'm going to continue to keep a closed self. And that's what happens. So you're never fully free. You're never fully expressed.
Yeah, I always feel like when I hear the word trust, I'm in a cage. Like
you put yourself in there. You put yourself in there. I mean, that's what it comes
to.
to.
Oh no, I don't put that on anybody else. That's all me.
Yeah. But you put yourself in that cage because somehow it feels safer than just saying, I'm going to take a risk here and trust that you have my best interests at heart, that you care for me enough, that you will protect me, that you will give me the things that I need in order for me to feel self-fulfilled. But at the same time, I'm taking responsibility for my end of things. Because not only is it hard to receive that trust, it's hard to give that trust. And when it's hard to give trust, you can't expect any reciprocity. You know, it doesn't come back at you. And it back to that thing that we said earlier about learning how to love yourself means that I'm learning how to trust myself. Because what is love at the end of the day? Love is about trust. Friendships are about trust. Any kind of relationship has to have a level of trust in there. And if we're guarded all of the time, then we're kind of cutting ourselves off at the knees from enjoying life to the fullest.
So you're doing this program with companies leading with trust. So what tools and tips are you bringing to the table to help people?
Well, I believe that, the things that we look at in this program are very simple. Trust of self is number one. I want to help you understand what it takes to trust yourself. The second part is trusting others. And again, I've touched on some of those issues that we were just discussing. Organizational trust is a big one right now because many companies, there are more companies who are toxic than there are companies that are healthy. And it's mostly because people go around protecting their little piece. We talk about silos. We talk about how, people are divided. There's no connection there, and there's no willingness to take a chance on people. And to the point you made earlier, micromanaging is a critical factor. In fact, I just had a conversation with a leader the other day who said, I admit that I have micromanaged my team because I don't want to let go of the control. And I don't trust them that they'll get it right. So yeah, move out of the way, I'll get on with it myself, or I'm going to overlook everything you do and make sure that it's done according to my standards, not according to yours. So there's a whole lot of behavioral stuff in here, but the behaviors of trust involve honesty, integrity, respect, capabilities, results. There's a whole lot of competencies involved in learning how to trust. It's not something that comes naturally, and it's not a big umbrella either. There's a whole lot of different aspects to it that we dive into in this program that really, at the end of the day, it's a 4-week program. People really have a very deep understanding of why trust matters and why I need to work on it.
Is that why there's a lot of people struggling to collaborate?
Yes, it's one of the reasons why. Yeah. If you don't trust your team members, why would I want to collaborate with you? Now, here's the other thing. We look at companies where there's a lot of divisions in the different departments of the organization. And part of that problem is that they don't trust each other to deliver the right results. They're not feeling like people are trustworthy, and trust and trustworthy are actually two different things altogether. People aren't showing up as real people, authentic people. How many people go to work and put a mask on? They become who you think I should be within the hours under which I'm working with you. But when we take all of that away, then we have better opportunities for people to come together. And that's a big one right there. And so it's very complex. There's a lot of things that I'm covering in this 4-week program that are really getting people to stop and reflect and really immerse themselves deeply in what this really means and how we can do it differently.
So, Jacqueline, how did you learn about all the strategies and how to get over your fears?
A lot of it was just, sheer willpower to some degree, perseverance. I like to say my middle name is determination. I don't give up easily. I was aware when I was in my 30s, I'd already given one child up for adoption. I'd left the second one with his father, and I got pregnant again for the third time with my current husband. And I made a commitment at that point that I would figure this motherhood thing out, because I felt like I was definitely on the run. And I stuck around and, ended up with a very reasonably healthy. We're all reasonably healthy. None of us are totally healthy. So that was the first child. And then I ended up inheriting a stepdaughter who came to me almost the age of 10 from Thailand. Didn't know me, complete stranger. So I had that to deal with. At that point, my child was 14 months old. And then I ended up with a fifth child in my life. And so the children became the main reason for me to start doing the therapeutic work, to understand why I was so self-destructive. I mean, I did my fair shares of drugs and alcohol, and taking it to the max. And it was clear that I needed to really dig in and figure out why I was severely messed up, frankly. I was never homeless or any of those things. I always managed to hold a job. I left school at 15, but I went back to school when I was 21. I eventually did get a degree. But I got it by the skin of my teeth, by the fact that, I'm a smart woman. But even then, I didn't think I was smart for a long time either. I didn't believe that I had any intelligence. I didn't believe I had any creativity. And it wasn't until I started writing when I was in my late 30s into my 40s, and then all the other things that I've done, that it started to change the picture of what I was capable of being. But I've had a lot of therapy, a lot of coaching, a lot of advising. And I'm not shy about, talking about that, simply because none of us makes the significant changes that I've made alone. It's impossible. You need sounding boards, you need people who are smarter than you, and you need people who really do care that you will succeed, who believe in you more than you believe in yourself. Because as I said in my TED Talk, I wouldn't have been standing there that night if it hadn't been for the many, many people who had helped show me a different direction.
And that is so true, Jacqueline. There's so many people that say, we believe in you. We see more than what you see. And until you see it, you always question yourself. Can I do it? Can I really, is this who
Yeah.
And then, but you also have those other people that give you that fake belief. And then that's where I have my challenges, is I have a lot of support, but I also know that I have not genuine support. The energy in the room is different. If I stand up for myself, or I say, no, thank you, not at this time, the energy with that other person will change. So I feel
That's a
almost,
transactional relationship. That's really what you're talking about. The people, if the energy's changing, it's like, I wanted something from you and you're not going to give it. In which case, I said many years ago, there's no one in my life I don't want there. And I had to be very discriminate about the people that I was allowing in, and the people who could use me. And I've been used a lot. I mean, people knowing what I do, there's a lot of people who show up and want it for free. And I've given a lot away over the years. In fact, I had one woman who came to me and said, I really want to work with you, but I don't have any money. And I said, do you have a job? She said, yes. I said, do you have a roof over your head? She said, yes. I said, do you have food on the table and a car to drive? She said, yes. I said, great. So you have something that pays for you. This is what pays for me. So no, I can't do that. So, it's setting boundaries, because that's the other piece that's missing for a lot of people. We don't know how to set clear boundaries for ourselves because we're afraid that we might miss out. We are afraid that maybe we're going to upset somebody. And because of that, we allow others to take advantage. And when you become really confident and you start taking ownership and authority of who you are and how you want to show up in the world, you get very clear about the people who are going to work for you and the folks who are not. And what I've found is that there's an awful lot of generous people out in the world, and they're genuine and they want to help. But you have to be able to discriminate against those, or for those who are there for you and they're not there just to take advantage of your money or your expertise. And that's a big one for all of us to decide, and especially for women. Women don't set high enough value on who they are and the services that they bring to the world. And that's a problem. And I did it too. And then finally, when I woke up and I just decided the hell with it, I threw the roof, put it there. I was like, you like it, you don't like it, I don't really care. But that took decades for me to get to that point, because I was too busy trying to keep people happy.
I was that girl 5 years ago where I was the people pleaser, right? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yeah, Now I'm to the point where no, I can't. And if they're like, what, I just can't. Like I'm, you know, and it throws a lot of people off because I was such that people pleaser before. I was that person that would help everyone out. And then it was me that my cup was empty. Where a lot of people today, they say, Miss Liz, your cup is still empty. My cup is not empty. My cup is 3/4 full. I don't have a full cup because I don't believe in a full cup because that would be that perfectionist. And I don't want to be a perfectionist anymore. I want to be that imperfect woman that is trying her hardest and doing what she can. And I really value your time today, Jacqueline, because you have lived it. You have the expertise. I love my guests who can bring the message because they've had that experience themselves. You know, where you can bring the power to the table and say, you know what, it can be done. And I'm with you, Jacqueline. We don't give ourselves enough credit because we've always been put down to the bottom. We're the housewife. We're the wife. We're the mother. We nurture. We just stay at home. We don't do these things. We don't lead, right? We don't take these leadership roles on,
But think about it. We put ourselves there.
right?
Nobody else put us there. We they wanted to put us there, and we willingly said, sure, fair enough. I mean, I raised my kids all over the globe, as you mentioned. I've lived all over the world. It's not always been easy. There's been a tremendous amount of ups and downs, and I had to work really hard to build a relationship with my son that I left behind. And that has taken, quite a long time. He's now 48 years old, and we've been pretty good friends now for about 20 years or more, maybe 30 years. But there was a lot of work necessary to heal the wounds and to be able to build a reasonably healthy relationship. He lives in England, so I don't actually have a lot of physical contact with him, but we're on video almost every weekend. And now he's got a almost 8-year-old daughter. So, there's that piece. And then my stepdaughter has a child who's 7 years old. There's a 3-month difference between the two of them. And now I've got a 7-month-old who's local. And that's, when you watch your children become adults who have children. And of course, it changes the equation completely. And I'm not shy about my age. I'm in my early 70s now, so it's like I've lived a few decades, and I've managed to achieve a great deal for myself over my lifetime. But each step of the way was uncertain. Each step of the way was filled with self-doubt. Each step of the way was really about, can you really do this? Until only recently being able to say, I'm going for that, and nobody's going to stop me. I don't have any doubt about it. I know it's going to happen. It's already happening, and that's what I want. That kind of confidence doesn't come overnight. It's like my clients say to me, how do I get to be more confident? And I go, one step at a time. Sometimes it's 2 steps forwards and 1 step back. But one day you wake up and you go, I don't do that anymore to myself. And you go, wow, look at that. I have grown.
Well, in real transformation, when you look back at pictures, you look back at videos, conversations, you do see the growth in yourself. Mm-hmm. And you're at some point, sometimes you'll say to yourself, who is that person? Right? Because you don't even recognize that person. Like I look back at myself 5 years ago and I was like, who is that woman?
Yeah.
But I know that woman was a part of me. And that's why I serve the past, the present, and the future, is because it's all a part of me.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like you do with your story, Jacqueline, is without your story, you wouldn't be able to encourage other people to live it and do it.
Well, this is very true. I mean, I like to say that what makes me different is, and I just started saying this recently, I am unapologetically raw and real. And when I say that, it's like you truly, what you see is what you get. And I would not be doing this work if it hadn't been for the fact that the universe decided I needed to have a shitload of experiences, good and bad, that would allow me to understand humanity and what it is that we do to ourselves, and how I personally could evolve and become the woman I am today. But it has taken a tremendous amount of effort for that to happen. And as I said earlier, not everybody wants to do the work. I have a program called Transformational Strategies for Success, and it's a very detailed 6-month program that is designed to help people create or craft a different narrative of who they think they are. So who are you? What is it that matters to you? Where is it you want to go? And most importantly, what is it that's getting in the way? And I take them on a deeply immersive, self-reflective journey that cannot help but transform your life, because you're doing nothing but thinking about who you are and how you're showing up, and where are the areas in which you undermine and create these limitations for yourself, those self-limiting beliefs and all the other aspects that go along with that. So I take people through this immersive journey, and the transformations, even for me, who created the program, constantly astound me when I see the confidence and the ability to make better decisions and taking charge of lives, and shutting out relatives who had have been totally toxic and poisonous their entire life, and now they can look at them and go, no, I'm not going to put up with that anymore, thank you very much. I mean, this stuff just blows me away, and I'm the one who created this stuff, but it came out of my own experiences, and this is how I roll. It's like, I'm not going to give you any bullshit. I'm going to just tell you that according to the gospel, according to Jacqueline, it's real, and this is how it works. And sometimes it's painful. In fact, many times it's painful. But if you're willing to get comfortable being uncomfortable, the opportunities that come out of it are extraordinary, extraordinary.
Absolutely.
And then you turn around and look at yourself and go, where'd you come from?
Right? Who are you? And they can actually answer it because they've done the work. So if anybody would like to take part in that course, can they find that on your website?
No, it's only for groups that I do these programs. I do not offer them for individuals. So I'm primarily focused on small to medium-sized companies at this point in time. And I take a minimum of 4 people into the program, and it's pretty high end. So it probably doesn't fall into most people's bucket list, shall we say. But that's something I this year decided was how I was going to be working. So no longer working individually, unless it's at very high level, C-level individuals, but mostly working with managers and teams, because I believe this work is badly needed in the workplace. It's badly needed in the world. I've no doubt about it. There's a lot of people who can benefit from it. But my mission is to get into the workplace and help transform those companies that people spend most of their lives in, and they're unhappy. Could we do that differently?
And it's so true, right? In organizations and groups and all that, there's no more teammate. There's no more collaboration, connection, because there's no proper communication.
It's there, but it's not as wholesome as it could be. Put it that way. I think that they want to do better, but many times they either don't bring the right programming in to help people. I mean, I'm working with one company right now. I've been working with them most of this year. The people who have gone through my program are rock stars in their organization now. And they're now in the management track, and they're starting to be rising stars throughout this. And it's only got 54 people in the company. But the CEO came to me and she said, I'm so impressed by the changes that people have been having since they started working with you. I want you to come in all of next year and deliver it to as many employees as we can. And that for me is about changing the world. That's exactly how it rolls. Yeah.
I like what you're doing, Jacqueline, because you're not just working with the one person, right? You're working with multiple people. Yeah. And then you have that extra flow, instead of having that one flow, you have that 4 flow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's a word. Maybe I just created that word up. But
here's the way I look at it is, I spent a lot of my life doing one-offs. People come and work with me, and then they finish, and then they keep going on. And this particular role, I don't call myself a coach anymore, because I think the word coach is highly overused and by a lot of people who have no business in the business.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I'm very clear on that. I've earned my stripes. But now I tell people I'm a guide and advisor. And if I'm a guide and advisor, then what I want to do is I want to guide you to the direction you want to go in. And I will advise you on whether you're making the right moves or not, or I will give you some thoughts on how you can think about things differently. But when I think about the teams that I work with, the individuals that I work with, they're contributing to the greater good of something. Because let's face it, the world is run by businesses, and mostly small businesses, by the way. It's not these large conglomerates that
Exactly.
we all know.
I'm so glad, Jacqueline, that you were saying that, because, the small guys always get forgotten. We got to really start paying attention and opening our eyes up to the small steps that are being taken, the small companies that are making the impacts.
Yeah, and the small companies want to get bigger. I mean, as I said, I like to work with companies. On average, I mean, I'm working with a startup right now. They got 17 people, but I'm working with 2 of their top management executives, the senior level people. That's a different kind of gig because they're not doing my online programs. They're just working with me one-on-one, but I'm working there as a trusted advisor. So we're talking about a whole bunch of stuff about how to make this thing go better. On the other side, when people are doing my programs, and I've got 3 online programs, which if anybody chooses to go to my website, you'll be able to examine and see for yourself. But I'm definitely interested in companies who are willing to invest in their people because they know that if they help their people grow, they will help their companies grow. It's a very simple equation, not complicated. But many people don't get it because it's like, oh, well, we don't have the money to invest in that. And I go, okay, so how much money are you investing in retention right now? How much money are you investing in underperformance that you could do better if only, So I get very uppity about all of this, I must admit. But, there's a piece here that for my part, my little old me, wants to influence, and I'm doing it. So that's kind of the blessing for my life at this point in time. Yeah.
Well, you're asking the questions that need to be asked, the ones that people are not asking. People that say, well, I can't invest in that. Well, what else are you investing in? Are you investing in bad behavior, bad choices, bad teammates? Like, are you putting all your time and energy into that, or are you actually looking for a change and direction?
Yeah.
That's where I've come to the point of my table is I don't want just people who want to come on a podcast. I want people who want to actually show that we can create a difference in the world by being real and raw and saying, you know what, we went through shit and we've done our shit. Now we want results. We don't want no more excuses. We want to look in that mirror and we want to say, where are we going?
Yes.
Where are we traveling to? Like, how can we grow together? At
the end of the day, we want to go out in our box, shall we say, feeling like I had an impact somewhere. Even if it's just in your family, because the other thing I talk about is when I talk about leadership, we're all leaders of our own life. We're leaders in our families, especially if you're a mother. Are you a role model for your children? Do you even think about that? Probably not. But I realize I'm an amazing role model for my children because they can look back on me long after I'm gone and going, Jesus, she really knew how to rock it out, didn't she?
She was the real raw deal, guys. And that's the legacy we should all want.
Yes.
Men and women, we should all want a legacy left behind that we made an impact, in our lives.
Yeah.
Not that we just lived. People are just living, and it frustrates me. It frustrates me when I sit with people and I say, okay, so what did you do all year? Well, I was married, I had kids, I cleaned my house. Okay, but what did you do for yourself? Like, did you write a book? Did you take a trip? Did you do something to grow yourself? And I find that everyone is just living, and I get frustrated. I'm just like, look, I'm in pain 24/7 and I'm still doing stuff. So come on, let's move. Like, stop with the excuses and just do something. And you'd be surprised. You do little steps and then you look back at the year and you say, oh my goodness, I did all of this.
Well, it's one of the reasons why I tell people to keep a gratitude journal, because
Right?
everybody wants to bitch and moan about what's going right and wrong and blah, blah, blah. And I say, keep a gratitude journal, write in it every day. And then at the end of the year, look back at all the good stuff that happened in your life. That's an amazing mind shifter right there. But, again, making time for yourself, you got to be able to do it. So.
Well, I find if you make time for yourself, you're actually making time for your growth, making time to
Well,
heal
that's it.
yourself.
I mean, I mean, God knows I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my growth and development in the last 40 years. So just to give you a little insight there. And God knows how many hours, thousands and thousands of hours over that period of time too, to develop the discipline and the commitment and the knowledge and everything else. You asked that question earlier. I'm well educated at this point in time because I care about my subject matter and I want to be informed and I want to be able to not deliver bullshit. So the way that I say to people is, I'm not going to give you stuff I just learned in a book or off a program.
Yep.
I'm going to give you something that's real. And also, as I say, raw, because I'm in your face. I'm that way with my clients. Like, oh, really? That's the story you want to tell me? Well, let's hang this one up to dry and see what that does.
It's like going to grandma's house and trying to pull a fast one on her. She's like, nope, I already see through you. Like,
That's right.
you can give me all the excuses you want.
I saw you coming. And people, when they say to me, oh, I've got these unique problems, and I go, no, you don't. Seen it all before. Sorry.
So, Jacqueline, I want to give you the letters TEA, and I'm really curious about your T. What words would you give me today?
Transformational. It has to be. I mean, do we want to transform our lives? Yes. Do we want to transform our mindset? Yes. Do we want to transform our behavior? Yes. These are all the transformational piece. And on the E piece, it's empower. Do you feel empowered? Are you around people who help you to feel empowered? And the A piece is accelerate. Accelerate your growth. Believe that you can take that transformational empowerment and accelerate your growth. That's how I would read T.
I love the word accelerate because it's just like putting a foot to the gas, right? Like, let's go, let's do this travel, let's move. Where would you travel to? Like, where am I going to see you in a year from now?
Yeah.
And maybe that's what we need to start looking at is where do we see ourselves in a year from now? Because in a year you can do a lot. No
question. I know in the last year I've done a lot. So, I'm definitely feeling like this is I look at the transformation for myself in the last year. It's like, 0 to 60. And I went, whoa, look at that. Look what happens when you really put yourself into it completely.
Mind blowing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Jacqueline, I asked you your favorite color. And as you can see, and the audience can see, and listeners can see, is we're wearing red. So you gave me the color red. Why red for?
It's power. And since we use the word empower, red is like, you can't ignore red. Some people find it off-putting. Some people find it to be a little too much. But I like to say this is from somebody who is claiming ownership and authority of her life. That's the red piece for me. And of course, red in Chinese is very much about power. So, there it is. I wore green for years, because I thought green was the color that was meant for me, and it was. Why? Because I was growing, Well, now I'm standing in my power. So, yeah, I'll wear red. And with the red hair and the red lips, it happens to work quite well. And the woman who did my logo also was well into the red piece as well. So it all kind of, it's personal branding. We could get a whole conversation on that, but yeah, not today.
Well, it's the lady in red, right? We're standing in who we are as women.
Yeah.
a lot of empowerment events and stuff like that are usually done in red.
Yeah.
You know, it's that strength, like, you know, resilience,
Yes.
tenacity, integrity. You know, you stand in power, you know,
Yes.
and be proud of yourself.
Yes.
Um, I love it. And I asked you one word to describe yourself. And as everyone probably knows, the one word is fearless. So why that word, Jacqueline?
Because fear was really the major driver of my life and early life. And being fearless, as I said at the beginning of the call, is not the absence of fear, but the courage. The opposite of fear is courage. And I've done tremendously amount of, or should I say, I have been very courageous at different times in my life. There's a whole lot more story that I'm not sharing today, but
It's one of those you have to contact to find out more.
if you've got 3 hours, we might get through all of it. But I wrote a book called When the Crow Sings. That was my first book, and it's a novel, and that has a lot of family history in there. So, but courage is really an important piece for the fear. And when I talk about fear being the greatest driver for growth, it's about having the courage to say, when fear shows up in your life, when you're afraid. I just had an incident this morning where I was asked a question and it triggered a fearful response. And I responded with fear. And then I had to backpedal a minute and go, whoa, look at that. The old stuff still gets triggered. It's still in there. But at least now I'm quicker to go, okay, get that, and then go take care of it. But you got to have the courage to show up for yourself. So that's what fearless is all about, the courage to show up for yourself.
I really like it, Jacqueline, because you're saying that the triggers still affect you, and you're in your 70s, but you look amazing for 70. You know, you got a couple decades on me. I'm going to be 50, and I'm not scared to say my age either, because I think we shouldn't be scared to say our ages, right?
I think women, they try to put this curtain around themselves. But, if you're aging well, it's got to do with your attitude. It has nothing to do with your biology. Sure, everything's starting to slide south. I notice more crepiness. I notice the lines. I notice that, there are certain things like the hands where you go, yeah, you're definitely getting old. But at the same time, it's about attitude. Yep. Age is about attitude. And we as women must never be afraid to have a good attitude about who I am and what I bring to the world. And when you have that, age is just a number. It's just a number. I stay healthy. I eat properly. I exercise. I can still move my body. Stamina is not quite as high as it used to be, but that's probably because I'm sitting in this chair a lot of hours. So that might have something to do with it. But nevertheless, these are things to keep in mind. Age is just an attitude. Yeah.
We really need to stop being afraid of the age, because, age gives us life stories. It tells us that we've taken this travel and this journey. Like my 97-year-old grandma always tells me, if I didn't live it, I can't say it, and I got 97 years, so I can complain about it if I want, and I can share it if I want. She said there's a big difference between it. And that's what you said at the beginning of the show, is, do you complain about it or do you fix it? Do you have gratitude for it? Do you have gratitude for the wrinkles, for the hardship? Just say thank you once in a while. Like, our stories were not easy, but be grateful that we survived those stories to be able to have that voice today.
Well, it's like one woman said to me when she came up to me at the intermission after the TED Talk. She said, is there ever a time when I can move beyond my trauma? And I said, yes, but you will have to do the work.
Yeah. So Jacqueline, I would like to find out what your final message is for everybody and how they can reach you and what books you have out there. Let's get that all in. And I know that you have to skip out a little early because you have another call. So let's get that all out there, and then I'll let you slide out with a nice smooth tea.
Thank you. So you can reach me, as you see, on my website, JacquelineWales.com. You'll find out everything you need to know. There's a lot of blog posts on there, and there's other bits and pieces you can check out. My books are available on Amazon, The Fearless Factor, The Fearless Factor at Work. The Fearless Factor at Work was my latest one. You can go check that out. And I'm on LinkedIn. So if you go to LinkedIn, you'll find tons of posts that hopefully will motivate and inspire you to think differently and manage your life. Take control of your life. That's really my final message. Take control of your life, not other people's, but yours. And make some of those decisions that are hard, but you can do it if you really want it. And that's what it comes down to.
Well, I really want to thank you, Jacqueline, for joining me. And I am so glad that we got this rescheduled and that you were able to sit with me and have tea, because I was looking forward to this tea time for a long time, because you answered some of the questions that I had for myself as well today. So I take away from what you served today at the table. And I want to thank you for that. I want to thank the viewers and listeners out there. And if you're watching, please push #replay and let me know where you're tuning in from. If you haven't heard about Miss Liz's Tea Time and you're just tuning in today and it's your first tea time, go to the YouTube channel, check out Miss Liz's Tea Time. There's over 300 different interviews from all walks of life, all age groups. My youngest one on there is 12, and my oldest one, I believe, is 91. So I give you a taste of everything out there. Men, women, and children are on tea time. So we do serve different flavors, different blends, and we do bring a different strong message for each and every one. So until then, I will see everybody on Thursday. I'll be back with 3 incredible guests. I have John Callis coming in from Hollywood. He'll be sharing his personal life story on abuse, living in the ghetto, and becoming a producer in Hollywood. Then I have Radvia Rome coming in with serving inner peace. So we'll be talking about how your inner peace has effects on your life. And then we'll jump into Bob Burrell. He'll be talking about the tattoo murder. That's right. We just do all different types of things in here, because even those murder stories have a meaning to them and they have a message and lesson in them. Because why did he get into writing murder stories? We'll find out on Thursday at 7 p.m. with Bob Burrell. So until then, I want to really thank everybody for tuning in and sharing and supporting Miss Liz. Without all of you guys, I could not do this. We are going to be having a reunion show December 21st from 7 to 9 p.m. That will be done on a Zoom call, and you'll see guests from season 1, 2, and 3 joining Miss Liz, and there's going to be a few surprises coming along the way. So there's always something going on at this table with Tea Time with Miss Liz. So Jacqueline, I really want to thank you for taking the time. I'm really glad that we were able to do this, and I think that this is just the beginning of our journey. So
Well,
I want to see a nice smooth ride, and I love your tea. It's really encouraging, and thank you for being fearless, because that's what we need, is fearless people in the world.
thank you,
So until then,
Liz.
so Jacqueline, do you have any final words before we leave?
No, I think I've given people plenty to think about. But here's the other thing. If you have a fear of failure, remember we're all failing our way to success. So go ahead. See where it gets you.
Well, I want to thank everybody. And until then, I will see everybody Thursday, 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 7 p.m. And we'll be sharing 3 new TEAs. And again, thank you, everybody. And let's just keep flowing these teas. Share, support. And if one tea resonates with you, download it, because that's what helps Miss Liz as well. And if you'd like to check out more about Miss Liz, go to the website at www.misslizsteatime. There's merchandise there. There's some of the books that I've written in there as well. And you can get to know a little bit about why Miss Liz does what Miss Liz does. This is not just a podcast. This is a humanitarian mission. I'm on a goal to save the world and to change the world with the TEA of Teaching Educational Awareness. Until then, I'll see everybody on Thursday.
Thank you, Liz.